I don't like this thing in Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is to say everything, but I had to pick one for the sake of this video. To set a quick baseline, good level design does a handful of things, and it interacts with various different elements of game design to achieve those things. A properly made level is designed in such a way that the visuals, the sounds, and the physical layout of the geography around you will all inform the player on where to go without needing to say so much as a word. Regardless of whether your approach is something linear like Pizza Tower, open world like Elden Ring, or somewhere in between like Metroid Dread, the golden ideal for any level to aspire toward is to be intuitive. Putting the player in a position where, with time, observation, and the right application of the game's mechanics, they will come to master the exploration of each level to the point where interacting with and traversing in the level around them will become second nature. With that established, the devs at Daedelic went over that paragraph and then said, okay, what if we were to take all of the principles making good levels, and then did none of that? Lord of the Rings Gollum has a lot of problems and everyone knows it, but this was the one thing that I could not let go of. After 13 hours of trudging through the rancid, burning hay, this was the last straw. This is how Lord of the Rings Gollum was designed to lie to you. Lord of the Rings Gollum teaches you how to mechanically traverse its level elements like chasms, ledges, and walls before immediately going out of its way to mislead you as much as possible. Literally one of the very next things you learn to do is to use Gollum's heightened senses. Doing so will spawn these little flavor-blasted ribbons that tell you where to go, because the devs knew that their own level design was too convoluted, so they had to practically tell you the solution outright, and then it doesn't even matter! Literally, the first time you use that ability, following the Cheeto dust is guaranteed to get you captured by the Nazgul. So the first lesson you learn with it is that even when the game flat out tells you where to go, you're just going to die! But like I said, I have to pick one thing I don't like, and now we're sliding into a mechanical problem, so let's hop back to level design, shall we? This was the bit that I left in the review, but here's where we're going to expand that example into the full-length video that it so clearly deserves. Very early in the game, you will need to blast some barrels in the mines, and to get there, you'll need to climb down some big mine shafts after crawling to them. Never mind the fact that this is linear in the worst way possible, as there are just multiple back-to-back crawling sections where all the gameplay boils down to holding forward until either you get to the end or Alt F4. What makes it way worse is that if you make it to the end, the ledge that you empty onto is so tiny that your POV from your camera will actually go over the ledge, meaning that if you don't slowly inch your way there, you have no way of knowing when it's going to be safe. And if you don't know that ledge is coming at all, oops! Now let's combine this with a game design and writing problem where, in addition to the level design issues, the game also just doesn't communicate your objectives correctly, or listen to itself for that matter. You were told before you went into the mines that what you're about to do is a job for the worthless slaves, the expendable ones that could be lost on a dangerous job without any consequence. So needless to say, what you're about to do is dangerous. When Gollum asks why this job is dangerous, the frail man will tell you that when you smell the gas, you'll know why. Based on this, you could assume that maybe the gas is flammable, so detonating the explosives could just kill you. And as a matter of fact, when you're finally down there, Gollum says it smells like rotten eggs. If you know high school chemistry, you'll know that that means this cave is likely full of some sort of natural gas, probably methane, which is flammable if not explosive in an enclosed space like this. Knowing that the gas is somehow dangerous in advance from the frail man's dialogue, and then concluding on what the gas actually is from Gollum's dialogue, means that you can now, as the player, assume that when you detonate the barrel, this whole shaft is probably going to go up in flames, so you need to run away very quickly. Suddenly, the urgency of getting away from the immediate area around the explosives is made very clear. This all sounds entirely reasonable and well communicated. The dialogue between the characters, the context clues, the established stakes, you've been given all of the information that you need to know what you need to do next. So then, what goes wrong? Well, because none of what's expected actually happens. When you detonate the barrel, as long as the immediate explosion doesn't hit you, nothing happens. No fireball, no giant explosion, no nothing. And as a matter of fact, if you go back to where the barrel exploded, it didn't even do anything! So there's no big ignition, no cave-in, and worst of all, you'll probably just need to do all of this over again since the blast obviously didn't work and there's nothing that's been mined. But for some reason, the objective marker still exclaims that you need to escape, despite the fact that there's no apparent danger. However, if you don't run immediately, you are guaranteed to die anyway, as what seems like a bunch of dust that's been kicked up from the explosion is actually the gas. Meaning that the gas you were warned about based upon the smell is actually just poison. And in reality, not only did the barrel not assist in the mining operation, it literally only managed to flood the mine with toxic gas. At this point, the question might be brought up now that you're watching this: why didn't I run when the game told me to? How did this even become a conflict? Yes, the game warns you a bunch leading up to this. Yes, the objective even tells you that you need to run, but the critical failure here isn't communicating what you need to do, it's why? The player is never given a reason why, or an explanation on what the threat actually is. And you might reasonably say at that, the reason to run is the gas. To which I say, what gas? This particle effect looks like nothing in particular. We've never been given a visual indicator of the gas we need to run from. We just detonated a huge barrel that probably kicked up whatever this stuff is, and more to the point, according to Gollum's dialogue, we know what the gas should have been, and it should have burned away in that explosion. The fact that this weird creeping gas just slowly mixes with the air and suffocates you means that it's actually probably something like carbon monoxide, but that doesn't even have a smell, and moreover, Gollum's comment about smelling like rotten eggs incorrectly informs the player about what kind of gas they're being threatened with, and what therefore can be expected of it. And on top of that, Gollum managed to somehow smell the gas before the gas was even released, which led to the misinformation in the first place. Or, you know, heaven forbid, I'm giving them too much credit for assuming that they put any thought whatsoever into the mechanics of their "you're not supposed to be here anymore" cloud. Following your successful escape, the shaft is sealed so the poison doesn't kill you both, along with everyone else in the mine. Then, because you obviously haven't had enough fun with this yet, you have to do the exact same thing again! Except it's even more boring, since there aren't even any climbing sections this time, and it's just holding forward with a little shimmy and a squeeze. Once you get to the barrel, though, you just do the exact same thing, except, you know, the leaving part. See, in this barrel room, you have to re-enter the crawl space that you came from in order to leave. Except you might just not fit sometimes. Oh, and by the way, the devs were too lazy to program an actual damage value for the explosion that gets weaker the further away you get, so the game just checks how far away from it you are, and if you're too close, you just instantly die. You know, one of this game's favorite things. Along with imprisonment. But ooh, sorry, that's a glitch with geometry, and this is a level design video, so back on topic! You ignite the barrel, get back in the hole, don't die this time, and crawl away from the "never should have come here" cloud. Except this time when you get out, the shaft isn't sealed behind you. And you just walk away. Now I want you to remember back to a couple minutes ago, where we did this in the first shaft, and we had to seal it off. The first shaft, which was much bigger than this one. The first shaft, which was much bigger, wherein the gas would have to travel upward through a huge vertical shaft before creeping all the way to the exit if you don't run, and then seal it to keep the gas from killing you. Tell you what, here's a quick time lapse to show how much further away the barrel was the first time. Meanwhile, this one, where the source of the same gas is much closer and doesn't need to travel upward at all, is left completely open. Then, ironically, the frail man who's been guiding you this whole time encourages you to breathe in. That's great advice if you want to stop playing this game. Although, maybe instead of like dying, just go outside, touch some grass, eat some strawberries, lest we forget. Because otherwise, this entire interaction, from the moment you escape the tunnels to the old man's comment, completely ignores the fact that according to the internal logic established from the first shaft, everyone in this mine is going to die, and you're first! This game is bad. Don't bother questioning how the barrels got there when every single tunnel you had to go through is smaller than they are. It's not worth it. And oh, by the way, I think we might have an answer as to why we don't see off the second shaft. It's if you sit down and you wait for the gas to catch you, it just doesn't. There's no gas. You just start taking damage for no reason. The cave just wills you out. It simply denies. Much like how I deny this game anything higher than the glitchy D tier, or how Daedelic denied 25% of their staff entry into the building on the Monday after this game flopped. And with that, I have been Lone Wolfie X, and I will see you, yes, you, next time.